Elevate your happy hour at the Library of Congress, which is open late on Thursdays for Live at the Library. Enjoy cocktails in the iconic Thomas Jefferson Building alongside live music, author talks, exhibits, and more. It's all free, eclectic, and inspired by the library's collections. On deck for August are outdoor film screenings, a K-pop night, and folk concert with Amanda Pascali. Plan your next night out at loc.gov/live.
Today on CityCast DC, we're going to talk about the bus drivers union fighting back against quoting the fare, DC's big slump in condo sales, and Republicans' effort to repeal the motorcycle helmet requirement here in the city. Plus, in a members-only fourth segment, we've got the latest on RFK Stadium and the Commanders' chances this year with the regular season a little less than a month away. I'm here with my CityCast colleagues Ben Brash and Jackie Pizer. It's Friday, August 14th. I'm Bridget Todd, and here's what DC is talking about. Ben, I know a lot of us saw that horrible video of a masked man getting onto a Metro bus in Silver Spring and attacking the driver as he drove the bus, which is terrifying. The driver said that he was telling the man the fare, which is something that WMATA now requires of drivers. They're supposed to say the fare whenever somebody gets on. Now, WMATA says that more was going on than the driver just quoting the fare, but now there is this dispute between WMATA and the union that represents their drivers. How did we get here?
How do we get here? Well, in May, WMATA issued a new policy that requires bus drivers to verbally quote the $2.25 fare to passengers. And that's because in 2024, WMATA said about 70% of their bus riders didn't pay. And so they're trying to keep the service operational, and it takes money to do that. And there's been a big outcry, like you were saying, from the union. They feel they shouldn't have to do this.
Why did WMATA bring back this policy that forces drivers to announce the fare? I know that for a while they kind of abandoned that. Why bring it back?
They're just trying to keep service going. I mean, we've all seen people just walk right onto the bus, and I'm sure none of us have ever done that. Like when your phone was like too buried in like a coat pocket or something. But yeah, they need money to keep the service going.
It's pretty astonishing how many people evade the fare. Like, I take the bus a lot, especially now running around the city for source meetings and everything, and I can't be Ubering everywhere. And I'm just like consistently just kind of surprised by how many people don't pay. And then I'm like, am I a chump for paying? Do I look dumb for like falling for this trap to pay? But I also I can understand, the bus driver's hesitation about this. I mean, people can be unpredictable. I'm not saying everyone that doesn't pay the fare, certainly not, is like that. But I can understand their hesitation. I don't know, maybe this is just like a bigger issue and requires a bigger solution than just having the bus driver tell them the fare when they walk on.
I mean, you never know what kind of a day someone's having, and what is going to be that one thing that you can say that brings a smile to their face, or, that brings their fist into your face. You just never know. And again, 70%, that is 7 out of every 10 people who ride the Metro bus are not paying their fares.
That is a really astonishing number. Mm-hmm. What is the drivers' union saying about this? Like, what are their demands?
So they're saying to withdraw the policy completely that was issued on May 12th. They shouldn't have to quote the fare to riders. They're saying if this does happen, notify the fellow workers in a timely manner if there is an assault on a transit worker, and also have fully enclosed barriers on all the Metro buses, like floor to ceiling.
You mean from the driver to the people coming on the bus?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So like to enclose the driver in a space floor to ceiling. WMATA has said, hey, we've spent like millions of dollars on these barriers, but there's still like ways to get in if you're motivated enough. So what the union is asking for is floor to ceiling, like no way to get in type barriers.
How many buses have those barriers now?
So Metro spent about $15 million on the bus shields. That's what WMATA General Manager Randy Clark told the Washington Post earlier this month. And so now we have about 450 buses that are fully enclosed, and the remainder are about 85% enclosed. And they expect to be done with the full enclosure project by May of 27.
I want to go back to that Silver Spring incident that sort of sparked some of this conversation. Now, WMATA says that incident actually involved more than a fare dispute or more than just the driver telling the masked man who got on the bus the fare. WMATA says that the guy had alcohol and the driver was saying there's no alcohol. The guy was behind the yellow line and the driver was sort of enforcing that. And that's when the attack happened. But my question is, if that is the case, does that actually change the union's argument at all? Do drivers still see that incident as evidence of a broader danger when it comes to confronting passengers about the fare or anything? And sort of that they should be able to have that the decision when and how to confront passengers who are breaking bus laws should be up to the individual driver, not set by WMATA.
Right. The union wants flexibility. They want it to be the discretion of the driver of when to say these things. And so you're right, there's like a bit of conflict on like what exactly precipitated the hit. The union says it's about the fare. The Metro says it's a little more complicated than that. By the way, this person is still at large. So we could ask them like what it was that caused them to throw a punch, but we haven't found them yet. And they're still looking for that suspect.
I think it also speaks to just like the broader idea that it should kind of be up to the driver's discretion, possibly based on the scenario, right? Like if the bus driver sees someone coming on and feels unsafe, like shouldn't it be up to their discretion to like decide then and there if they should confront the passenger coming on or just let it go? And I'm sure that there's concerns if like a widespread or like blanket requirement for them, that I could see that could be that they'd be a little wary of that.
And just to add like a bit of context here, there's a 2017 policy from WMATA that instructed operators not to quote fares unless a passenger asked or the automated announcement like, hey, pay your fare wasn't working.
What was the reason for that policy?
That's a good question. I mean, maybe to avoid something like this.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Although, like, not unrelatedly, WMATA says that fare evasion across its whole system leads to about $50 million in lost revenue a year.
Wow, jeez.
And we need that money.
Do we have any sense how common assaults or threats against Metrobus operators are?
I mean, relative to, like, the everyday interaction and, like, the amount of, touches between the public and our bus drivers, like exceedingly rare. But, no one should feel like they are at an elevated threat to be, hit just for doing their job. And the union feels like this new policy increases that risk.
And I guess I want to ask about the sort of bigger policy tension that seems to be going on here. Bowser and the council have definitely fought about making buses free. Janice Lewis-George is talking about free bus rides for SNAP recipients. At the same time, against that backdrop, WMATA is really pushing harder about fare compliance. And so it kind of seems like we have these two different conversations about what bus fares in DC should look like.
We are figuring out how to fund DC writ large. We are having like ginormous conversations about it at like the highest levels of city government. So, this is one part of it, but this is a fish to fry. But there's like so many other things happening about funding that I would not be surprised if this got, kind of worked out eventually.
Here is something from our sponsors at the DC Department of Behavioral Health. DC is turning a corner, and the numbers back it up. Fatal opioid overdoses dropped 33% in this city from 2023 to 2024. That's not just data, that's real people, real families, still together. But the work isn't done, and neither are we. If you or someone you love is struggling, help is closer than you think. Text LiveLongDC to 888-811 to connect with treatment, housing, and recovery support right here in the district. Free Narcan is available at nearly 40 locations across DC because nobody should lose someone for lack of access. And if you're in crisis right now, call or text 988. Know your worth, know your alternatives, know your value, know yourself. Recovery is possible. Find out how at knowyourpathdc.com.
Let's talk about the DC SCU. your friendly neighborhood sustainable energy utility. 15 years and they're still here. Talk about eyes on the prize. Their mission possible. Serving residents with efficiency and clean energy programs, improving affordability and quality of life across all 8 wards. They've delivered $2.2 billion in lifetime savings for district residents and businesses alike. They've prevented 10.1 million metric tons of emissions right here. These are your neighbors working for you. And it makes sense that they're in Southeast by the ballpark because they are knocking it out of the park daily. There is no ivory tower. They're on the sidewalks, out on the streets, and they're at your door, making it happen, more capable, more committed than ever. Doing right by you and you and you. I see you standing up. That's right, clap your hands because DCSCU is 15 and still redefining power in the district. Find out more at dcscu.com. All right, well, speaking of DC's economic climate, Jackie, I want to turn to you and a story that you've been looking at. So I have always felt that for a certain kind of DC resident, young, upwardly mobile, you know who I'm talking about, buying a condo in DC is almost kind of like a rite of passage. You couldn't afford a whole row house, but maybe you could get a 1-bedroom with an in-unit washer dryer, which is always a very big deal in my circle, and start building a little bit of equity. But right now, it seems like DC's condo market is having a little bit of a rough time.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're a journalist, maybe you can't. It's not a rite of passage to buy a condo. No shade to my employer. But right now, though, yes, historically, condos in DC, specifically 1-beds and studios, have been a really attractive way for young professionals who are, say that they're a consultant, or maybe they're a mid-level government employee that's making a really solid salary and thinks that they have job security, would invest in one of these condos. But now that's certainly not the case. And there are many factors for that. But and we see that in the number of sales specifically. And I just got some data from a source in the real estate world, and it's pretty astonishing that the city right now, DC condo sales, specifically 1-bed and studios, are on track to hit 40% below pre-pandemic rates. So compared to 2019, and even if we compared that to 2021, which is when the peak of condo sales were, it would be even more than that. And in our story plugging, there's actually a really good chart that Alyssa, our data reporter, put together for us that shows just how dramatic that drop has been.
Why are we seeing such a dramatic drop in sales for these condos?
There are a lot of reasons. So first of all, obviously interest rates. That's just all we talk about lately. But still, that hasn't really deterred every home buyer. We still see regular homes across the country it's not as drastic. But then there's also, overall job loss in the city. I mean, last year alone, we lost 56,000 jobs. That's according to Brookings. 96% of those are connected to federal layoffs. So that's the next reason, DOGE. So that really just wiped out a whole sector of our workforce. And a lot of them were these mid-level, early entry employees who, again, thought they would have job security in a federal job. That's not the case. Also, condo fees are just astronomically higher. We can get more into that later. And then there's also just more competition, right? So if you're a renter in DC, there's a lot of newer buildings that have a ton of amenities. In Navy Yard, you can find a place that has a bowling alley, a movie theater. Go to Noma Union Market, you'll find a luxurious pool on the rooftop, a state-of-the-art gym. Some of these buildings, you have a membership to Equinox. So it's why would you want to put all this money into this condo where your condo fees are just going to be astronomical in some cases, and then as opposed to just renting? And even then, for a lot of people, there's worry about job security. So they don't, DC is a very transient city. In the past, if you had a government job, you were probably more likely to stay. And people don't want to put down money right now in the city.
The condo fee thing is real. I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent, but every now and then, I'm a renter, lifelong renter, probably will die in a rental, and I'm fine with that. But every now and then I will scroll Zillow just sort of aspirationally looking at places, and you'll see a condo and I'm thinking, oh, I can afford that. Then you click in and it's like, actually it's $3,000 condo fees on top of what you're paying. It happens so often, and it just does seem like the condo fees are kind of a ripoff. And then if it has some sort of condo association, you know you're going to be in a fight with whoever runs that. Like, I'm just mapping out the future of me making this purchase, and it doesn't sometimes seem so rosy.
Totally. I mean, I live for gossip about strangers and I have no stake in. And hearing from my friends who are dealing with condo boards is just, it's so juicy. I love it. But you make a good point, right? So the condo fees are a lot more expensive, and there's kind of two ends of the spectrum, right? So there's the older buildings that have to deal with getting insurance, and it's become a lot harder to get insurance on these buildings. And we can kind of connect that back to some of the bigger news stories that we've seen about these older buildings that have collapsed. I mean, Surfside, I covered that when I was working on the night shift at the Washington Post. That was a devastating situation, and that was kind of a signal to a lot of these insurance companies that these buildings need to get their act together, because we can't, like, this can't happen again. So it makes it harder for them to secure that. So, and there's a lot of rules that we don't need to get into. It's kind of boring, but that's one reason. On the other side of the spectrum, there are these nice luxury condo buildings that have a lot of these amenities that we just talked about with the rentals, and that will drive up the fee as well. So, it's not cheap to maintain a pool. It's not cheap to maintain a gym. I mean, these things cost money, and they get tacked on and passed on to the residents in those buildings.
Now, I'm no real estate expert, but is it possible that this could be potentially good news for buyers?
Yes, Bridget, that's a great instinct, and it's true. I mean, if you are a buyer, it's a buyer's market right now. I talked to a couple agents that were saying, they hold all the cards. So if you want to add some contingencies to your purchase, to your buying of this condo, you have the leverage to do that. It also means that just a lot of these listings that have been on the market for a while are having to lower their price. So, it's not good news for the sellers, because they may not be making much money on their investment. But it's a good news for the buyer, because they'll get to save getting something probably below a little market value from a couple of years ago. But on the other hand, buyers can also be more choosy, right? So any sort of nick against a condo is not good news, right? So you live on a busy street, you live in a basement unit, your unit is not upgraded, but the one down the hall is. If there's any small reason that's not like an absolute yes, no question, I will buy this, then you don't have much luck. And that's led to sellers not being that happy.
You said earlier that you enjoy following drama that has nothing to do with you. For whatever reason, I'm not even in the market for anything, but I do follow housing subreddits and housing conversations. You can sort of tell when someone has a condo on the market and they really don't want to take a bath on it. And you're like, okay, it's been on the market for kind of a while. You haven't lowered the price, but no one's really biting. I sort of get the sense that is kind of where we're at when it comes to condos on the market.
Oh, totally. I mean, I talked to one real estate agent who said, he'll sometimes get calls from people to inquire about hiring him as their agent because they're frustrated with their current agent that they haven't sold their condo. And he's like, I don't sugarcoat it. He was like, I say to them, you will have to bring down your price, or you'll have to invest money in renovating it, or you'll have to rent it, because that's just the reality of the market right now. And, he told me that some of his clients have, totally given up on selling it, are just going to rent it. And then there are also other clients who are renting it below, they're taking a loss on their mortgage payment because they also just can't rent it for the amount that would cover their mortgage. So you can understand that people they're not happy about this. But it's just unfortunately the reality right now.
That's crazy to think about, the level of stability that there used to be in a government town, and now people are taking a loss. That's just kind of bananas to think about. Is there any sense of hey, this is just what happens when you lay off a bunch of people, and has this happened in other places before? How does this get fixed? Or does it not? And this is just the market will equalize itself out.
I think that this speaks to the broader issues happening in DC, right? There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. There's a lot of like existential questions of like, how do we revive our economy? How do we make it stable again? We used to rely on the federal government. We really rested on our laurels there. And now that's gone. And there's a lot of discussion on like, how do we bring in more industry to DC? And I think once all those things start working together, that the hope that it will help revive, this sector of the market. I mean, there's a lot of talk of wanting to bring in tech companies and more educational institutions and healthcare, et cetera, into DC. And the hope is, by attracting businesses here, they'll bring in employees who will then rent or buy and help revitalize this sector of the market.
Or maybe we'll hit those 72,000 units, housing units that JLG proposed.
If you were advising me as a friend based on what you know about following DC's condo and real estate market, and I was saying, listen, I'm thinking about buying a 1-bedroom condo, what would you tell me?
Ooh, I love that question. Listen, let me preface, I'm not an expert. I'm not a real estate agent.
This is not legal or real estate or financial advice from Jackie.
Right.
Yes, thank
Hold
you.
harmless.
Yes. I mean, I would say that there's a couple things to think about, right? It's like, are you planning to stay in DC? Because in that case, you can hold out. You're more flexible on if you'd want to sell it, right? So like, if you are here for the long haul and you're willing to wait till the market rebounds, then sure. Another thing is like, think about the neighborhood and where it's going and like how desirable of a place it is to live. So I would, kind of pay attention to like, are there, is it being developed around me? Have our shops and grocery stores in the area? I think just in general, that's like kind of signals of like, this could be a good place to invest in because people will want to live here. And even then, like maybe you could rent at a pretty good rate there too, if you wanted to.
So we've talked about condos. Is this all impacting the sort of general housing market in DC as well?
Yeah, I mean, the overall housing market is not doing great. It's definitely part of a larger trend. I mean, the number of for sale listings in July reached like a 7-year high. Okay. So that's the amount of, homes, condos, townhouses on the market right now. And even like year over year in July, that's an 11% increase over last year. So it's not a great signal. And it's really slowing down. There is an exception, though, which is the luxury market. We have a lot of very rich people moving into the DC region. You can infer why that would be. But that sector is doing quite well. But it is part of an overall trend in the DC region.
Wait, I would like to infer why that would be.
So, I mean, the Wall Street Journal did a great story about this, about the luxury market here. But, Trump's cabinet is the richest in recent history. A lot of very important, powerful tech people and foreign, dignitaries, et cetera, want to be within the vicinity of the White House and of where policy is happening. So that's kind of the general consensus of why that's doing well. And this is not just in DC. This is in Virginia suburbs, Maryland suburbs as well.
I was at a party not that long ago, and, you get to talking to people, and I'm talking to somebody who is a DC real estate agent. So, of course, my first question is, with all the economic uncertainty in DC, does it make sense to buy? Like, would it be a good idea to get involved in real estate? And he put his drink down and looked at me in the eye and said, always buy when there's blood in the streets. And this was a phrase I had never heard before, but when I tell you that I was like, okay, I think I'm going to mingle a little bit more. Talk to some other people.
That's so funny.
If you find yourself saying the phrase blood in the streets, maybe just kind of like take a step back real quick.
I'm going to go.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting point, right? Like I did talk to this one loan manager. He gives out loans to people who want to buy homes. And he was saying to me, there's this kind of misconception where it's like, I should have bought years ago when the market was hot. And he was like, but, people forget that they would have had to like compete for those listings. They would have had to pay tens, hundreds of thousands above asking to secure that place. So, it's always grass is greener. I don't know if I'd say blood is in the street, but
that's not a phrase. Yeah, that's not a phrase I feel like gives people confidence about anything, even you as a safe person to be around at a party.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if folks watch that HBO show, The Pit, you might have noticed that Dr. Robbie on that show has kind of sparked this interesting debate online because he rides around on a motorcycle without a helmet. Fun fact, that is actually legal to do in Pennsylvania for some riders. Here in DC, though, you actually have to wear one legally. But maybe not for long, because last week, 2 Republican members of Congress introduced a bill that would repeal DC's motorcycle helmet mandate. So I want to start with a very basic question. Why does Congress care whether people in DC have to wear motorcycle helmets or not?
Is it just that people in Congress care that they can change laws in DC, and that's the meta reason? I'm not sure they really are worried about our noggins so much.
Also, isn't it this is just another trend of these Republicans making changes in DC, because they can, also because it's within their interest, right? One of the representatives from Wisconsin, he rides his Harley in Capitol Hill. I would imagine that maybe he personally does not want to have to wear his helmet. It's an example of a broader issue of Congress's ability to change laws in a city that they don't live in full time.
It reminds me of the conversation we had a while back where Republican members of Congress were trying to interfere with DC's traffic ticket cameras.
Yep.
And it's because you drive around DC and get them and don't like that. So I don't think it's really about DC residents or what's going on in DC or some sort of libertarian ethos you're trying to force in DC. I think you just personally want to shape the laws so that they fit what you want to do.
And then don't say, wow, the city's really underfunded. I wonder how that happened. It's I don't know, the fees on the people breaking the laws probably would have helped, but yeah.
I mean, the amount of road deaths in DC, it was up 125% year to date. I mean, that's pretty astonishing. And I can imagine, we don't know specifically if that involved a helmet or not. But those statistics alone, I don't know, just be safe. I always yell at my friends for not wearing their helmets when they ride their bikes. I mean, this is a motorcycle, you're on a highway. I don't know. I just think it's more important to maybe try and save your life than maybe not be inconvenienced.
They have combs. Brushes exist. Fix your hair when you get there, man.
Yeah. And you kind of brought this up, Ben, but I can't not think that this is just another example of Republicans in Congress really wanting to have more control over DC. It's hard for me to see that as anything else.
This is the gnawing central issue at the center of all this is we have the constitutional authority to do what we want in DC, and we're going to exercise that constitutional authority. The argument that Representative Derek Van Orden, who you mentioned earlier, Jackie, who, by the way, I don't believe has hair, so I'm not sure he would have to worry about the helmet issue, just for the record. It's okay. No shade. That's okay. That's okay. I'm just saying, just balls and strikes here. It said this is not just because he wants to ride without a helmet. No. It's because the federal government has been so involved in helmet legislation for many years. And if we could, start here, then it would shine a light on, how the federal government can, start the trend. But I will say that it's a very porous set of borders that we have here. And when you cross in to Maryland or Virginia, they require right now for you to have a helmet on. So it's I don't know, you're fiddling with it on the state line. I don't know.
I want to bring it back to The Pit for a second because I can't help myself. But that opening scene of last season with Dr. Robbie riding into the hospital without his helmet is just signifying how he's feeling about himself, this death wish burnt out. Can we connect that? Can we be so bold as to wonder if these congressmen are feeling the same way? Do we need to get them help? I don't know.
Yeah, it's I want to be able to ride around and convey to anybody who might be watching that that I'm going through it and I might have a death wish and that I might be signaling something about the way that I feel about myself.
The normal thing when that's happening in DC is to dye your hair blonde. That is... We already have a thing, man. Just dye your hair blonde. That lets everyone know you're going through it.
Or go to the Raven and sit by yourself and order a double whiskey neat. We have there are other ways to convey this in DC.
Yeah.
I
would say also maybe get bangs, but I don't know if the representative
cut them yourself.
Do that.
Imagine if a male Republican member of Congress comes in with self-cut bangs.
Period.
And he's I've been listening to a lot of Lana Del Rey. Something's going on. I'm doing a smoky eye. Let me have this.
That is constituent service right there, because it's transparency in government. That's what I think.
I want to give a big thank you and shout out to our newest CityCast DC neighbors, Taylor G, Kathleen D, Henry B, Mariana A, Tracy B, Shane R, Doug J, Ryan L, Morgan H, Michelle C, and Miles I. Thank you so much for the support. And today, paid subscribers get a bonus 4th Roundup chat, where we look at where RFK Stadium plans stand, as well as the Commanders' chances this upcoming football season. And if you want to be sure to always get the full episode, just become a member. Head to membership.citycast.fm and sign up. It's only $10 a month, and members get ad-free listening, exclusive members events, and a hand-curated extra events newsletter every week. Again, that's membership.citycast.fm. Well, Ben, Jackie, thank you so much for being here. I will see you on the bloody streets of DC.
Let's do it.
Yes. Thanks, Bridget.
And that's all for today here on CityCast DC. Our production team this week was Alexander Turk and Matthew Rogers. You can check out all of our excellent newsletters and original reporting at dc.citycast.fm. Our hosts are Michael Schaefer and me, Bridget Todd. Music is by Alex Roldan, with additional music from Philip Ayers and Blue Lou from Triple Scoop Music via Getty Images. And if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to text your friend who just cannot sell their condo right now. We'll be back Monday morning with even more news from around the city. Talk to you soon.